Your patience has finally paid off. I'm going to do a video of everything in my basement. I know you've been waiting anxiously for this moment, and here it is. I will show you each individual tank and this pond, and I will post links in the description to each one of the videos going over each one of these in case you want some more detail. But I just wanted to kind of make a video and show like an overview of everything and how I have it all set up, and maybe a little bit of the infrastructure and possibly a sneak peek of plans to come. So this is my 110 gallon stock tank that has goldfish and rice fish in it, and there's a whole story behind it that you can go check out. Just out of curiosity, if anybody out there has multiple hobbies, I have multiple obsessions, and one of them is honey, and this is all, or not honey, but beekeeping. And this is all honey sitting in buckets right next to it. If there are any beekeepers out there, I'm really curious to see if there's anybody else who has found a way to combine those two hobbies. But as we go through the basement, you'll see there's the extractor evidence of both hobbies, although the fish have mostly taken over the basement. So, but here's my goldfish pond, goldfish, rice fish, a couple rice fish congregating there on top, and a lot of water lettuce and water hyacinths. So it's kind of hard to see all the goldfish, but they're in there. But there's a whole story on this pond, so, and why it's in my basement, so go ahead and check it out. I'll have a video soon of some fish food that I'm actually in the process of making. There's meat in there, and I'm really excited. I have an idea of how to make my own fish food. I've kind of done it once already, and it has been very successful, so stay tuned for that video. But if you move down here, we're just going to kind of start in the back with my not so pretty tanks and move my way to something a little more exciting. So this is a bunch of 40 breeders and some 10 gallons there on the bottom left. These 40 breeders are kind of all over the place right now. The bottom one is mostly growing out some blue-eyed lemon bristlenose plecos. There's some Leilupi in the middle one and a couple more plecos, and also some of the Lake Foix cichlids, which you'll see the main tank where they came from. They used to be back here, and there were a few babies that I just didn't move, and they're just kind of hanging out here growing out. And right now up top is just snails, but I do have some fish coming in next week, so I'm going to clean that up and get it ready to quarantine them. This is, you'll notice the water here on the floor. I have kind of a siphon going right there, and I just have it draining down my floor and down the drain. So every time I walk down here, I have to just step over this tiny little river. But there's my water supply is there in the background behind it, and I have a little drip that just slowly drips into the tank from my hot water supply. So just kind of an automatic water changer. Of course, with all the algae on the glass, I'm not sure 100% how well it works, although the fish never seem to have a problem. Right now in that tank, there are a bunch of electric blue acaras growing out, as well as a floating basket that has a lot more electric blue acaras that are just babies right now. On the bottom on the left, there's a tank of guppies, and then on the right two tanks, those are both Apistogramma cockatoides, orange flash, and those are breeding tanks. I'll kind of do a video eventually. You'll see some more Apistogrammas, just kind of a part of a breeding project. I have a local fish store that really likes those Apistogrammas, so I just grow them out. Same thing with the electric blue acaras. I'll do a video on this sometime too, but this is my kind of workstation mess. There's my brine shrimp hatchery over there. There's two trash cans. One has RODI water only, and one has salt water for my saltwater tank. You'll see the salt water, or the salt down there, and then the RODI filter on the wall, and there's more actually down below on the floor. I'll do a whole video on this eventually, just kind of showing how this madness actually makes sense. I feel like every fish keeper has a cat mascot, or at least every YouTube fish keeper. So here's mine. Her name is Soka. She doesn't really cause any problems. Any Star Wars fans out there will know what that name comes from. This is, and you know what, I'll start by saying this is the beginning of the stacks. So a lot of my tanks are stacked. As you saw in the back, there's a bunch of stacks, and so I've just got stacks and stacks of tanks all over the place. So on the bottom is my 55-gallon Tropheus tank, which I've added some plants to recently. I have some plans in the future to get some bigger tanks, and I wanted them to have plants, so I bought a lot of plants recently, and I've kind of just put them in random places where they can hang out for now. until I get the bigger tanks and I can set those up. On the top is my Amazon puffer in Tetra tank, which I've done a video. Like I said, all these videos will be in the links will be in the description. Over here, okay, I have to explain the SpongeBob tank. That is my daughter's tank, and she chose all the decorations for that tank, and I can't keep that thing clear no matter what I do. I just hate that substrate, that colored substrate, and she had fish die and things like that. So I don't know. I'm a big fan of the more natural substrate, and I've never had a tank like this, and I let her set it up like that, and it has not gone well. But the two tanks are below it and above it are more Apistogramma cockatoides, and on the top is the blue flame Agassizii Apistogramma, which I have a video on. I haven't done a video on the cockatoides yet, but I might do that one day, but it's just kind of part of the project. There's some babies in that second from the top tank. And then coming around here, first off, this is my wax that I'm melting down and my honey bucket. So there's some more evidence of that. In the corner here, these are, I'll show you the infrastructure I have going through the ceiling for my air. This one is just an air pump that I'm waiting for some more valves so I can run them down from the PVC that's in the ceiling. But I've got some Bimaculata babies in this 5-gallon tank. This 2.5-gallon tank is courtesy of my friend Brian, who decided to hand out fish for Halloween, and my kids got 3 goldfish, and they're just feeder fish. Once they've gone through a long quarantine period, they'll end up in the pond, but they are feeder fish, so I do question whether or not they're healthy or not. So for a month or so, they're going to hang out in that small tank, and they're pretty small fish, so I think that'll be okay for the time being. And then there's just a couple of empty tanks back there and some more supplies that I have. This is my Mbuna tank. You'll see a lot of plants coming out of the top. Almost every one of my tanks almost has at least a pothos stem coming out of the top of it. And I've done a video on these planters. I want to do a more in-depth video that'll be coming here soon. Below that is a 75-gallon kind of mixed tank with my Nicaraguan and my starry night cichlid that we have dubbed Vincent. My wife named him Vincent, him or her, I'm not sure, but whatever it is, its name is Vincent. And coming down here, we've got a stack of 3. There's a 29, a 20, and a 37 on the bottom, which I've done videos on all of these tanks. And over here, I've got my shrimp tank on the top, and my Bimaculata, my zebra caras on the bottom. I would really like to replace both of these racks with 2 larger tanks and just kind of have large tanks out here. And my plan is to build something I'll show you guys in the future. So I still want to keep these tanks down here in the basement, but I have some other projects I'm working on just to increase the efficiency down here so I don't have to use so much electricity, which that is a good segue into this right here. I don't know if every fish keeper has a closet that looks like this, but this is what mine looks like. Just lots and lots of junk food. There is a CO2 canister down there that is not currently hooked up or in use and is empty right now. I may hook that up in the future. Oh, I'm sorry, I bumped my microphone. I hope that wasn't too loud. I may hook it back up in the future if I want to do a more heavily planted aquarium, or if I just want to kind of increase the grow out rate of something that even if it's low tech plants. But for now, not hooked up. Lots of food, lots of gizmos, gadgets, tubes, and cleaning supplies. But what's interesting in here is I do have a linear piston air pump, and the PVC is running into the back room, and then it's also running into the ceiling here. And so all throughout the room, I have PVC up in the ceiling, and there are valves that come down from the ceiling. There's more stuff back there. I'm going to do a video on all that later. That's my DIY battery backup system. So that is what is powering all the pumps. You'll see the lines coming out of the ceiling. And I'll also probably talk soon about the heat that comes through the PVC. I've discovered that that pipe actually stays at about 78 degrees and puts warm air into the tank. So I've started kind of testing. I can unplug some of my heaters and they don't seem to drop their temperature, which is really nice. This is a pothos stem. If you'll notice, it starts right there. It runs back through here, runs all the way along here. I don't even know how long that is. It's like 10 feet long. So anyway, really long pothos stem that runs here. And then you got another one right there that runs all the way down there. And then here, these have got to be like the biggest pothos leaves that I've ever seen. And they're entirely made of fish poop. So right here, this is directly at the bottom of my stairs, so I can sit on my bottom stairs and look at both of these tanks. This is my planted community tank, and this on the bottom is my Lake Foix community tank, which is not something that I think a lot of people have, so go ahead and check out that video, learn more about those fish. And then we get to my my saltwater tank. And I don't know if everybody else generates mountains and mountains of trash, but I'm really happy to finally have just a trash can, a dedicated trash can. But this is my saltwater tank right above it with my 2 clowns. And there's a goby in there who likes to hide a lot. And then some zoanthids and a mushroom coral, which are actually doing pretty good. This is a pretty cheap light, this fluval light. I say cheap. In the freshwater world, it's about normal cost. In the saltwater world, it's cheap. That's usually how it goes. But it's doing a good job with these zoanthids. They're growing pretty good. And honestly, this tank is solid. One day I'll show you how I do water changes, just mixing fresh and salt, and how I manage that. That kind of goes along with that backroom stuff. Like I said, lots of plants. I mean, these lilies are even flowering up here. This is my mostly Central American community tank. And of course, the minute I walk up here, everybody wants to hide. And then on the bottom is my Neolamprologus multifasciatus tank, which is probably one of the oldest running tanks down here in the basement. This setup, this stand, was one of my first down in the basement. And it has basically stayed in the same position. This was just kind of, I had an upstairs tank and a downstairs tank, and that's the way it was going to stay. Yeah, see how that turned out? And then eventually I started adding more tanks along this wall, and then it just took over the entire wall. And I have a small gap here of about 1 foot, and I'm hoping, not to mention that bottom, I built this stand differently to hold this 75. On those stands, I built them so that they could hold 2 4-foot tanks. This one wasn't built that way. So it only can hold 3 foot on the bottom, although it does hold the 2 canisters, one for the salt water and one for the 75 on the bottom. So it's not a terrible setup. It's not a terrible waste of space, but I do have some ideas of how to utilize this extra foot of space over here. But it involves kind of changing this whole thing. And yeah, I'm super excited for that, but that'll be over the next few months, so stay tuned. And then over here, you got my TV on the wall, and beneath the TV is my my living TV, or my entertainment when I don't want to watch whatever's on the TV. And this is just a kind of open water Lake Tanganyika tank, which you can see a video on I've got for you. And I don't think it's going to stay this way for forever. I would really like to add more to this tank. I think originally when I built it, I wanted it to be as open as possible, just to let these fish kind of swim wherever they wanted to and do whatever they wanted to with the substrate. But I threw that plant in there the other day because I did some trimming on my 75 planted tank, and it had like multiple rhizomes of Anubias. So I just tossed that one in here, and I have some more plants coming that I think I'm going to put in here just to kind of add more to it. But honestly, I still love looking at these guys. They are beautiful fish. So, and then the last 2 tanks are the biggest tanks, which are over here around the corner. This is my 210-gallon community Tanganyika tank, and below it is the 180-gallon Amazon tank, or South American tank, mostly Amazon. And it has a lot of wood in there, so a lot of tannins, kind of darker colored water. And yeah, both beautiful tanks. check those videos out. And then my canister filters back in the corner. So anyway, that is the whole basement. I have some of these things that I touched on a little bit that I'm going to be making more videos going in depth on in the future. But there is the wall that is fulfilling my wish list. And I hope you enjoyed that. And now that you can finally see what everything looks like down here, it is super fun to just sit here on this couch and just watch all of these tanks. But let me know if you have any questions about anything individually on any of these tanks. Like I said, try to see those videos if you do have any questions on stocking, and I go in depth into each one. But yeah, some changes coming in the future. Once I get around to finishing up a few other projects, I'm gonna probably get some different tanks and move some things around. So super excited for all that. Thanks for watching.